But there is a whole science behind it. There's a whole rules behind it, and there's professionals. No matter where you go work, there's people behind the scenes. That's their job every day, is to purchase things for you, to support you. That's what purchasing does. It supports the department. So the university's job is to educate, right? We're in the business of educating students. We're not in the business of purchasing things. But every business purchases things, and they all have people who do it, and they all have rules. And sometimes those rules get in the way of other objectives that we have, like diversity.
What if the vendors owned by the minorities cannot offer the lowest price, but we have we have to consider the vendor diversity? What can we deal with this situation?
Let me see if I understand your question. So
If the vendor cannot owned by the minorities cannot offer the lowest price.
Yes.
But we have to consider the vendor diversity.
Oh, I understand. So if they're not the lowest price,
yeah,
can we still use them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shauna, what do you think?
Yes, we can still use them. However, it makes it more challenging. Right?
Well, yeah. So
usually the lowest price wins, right?
Usually. Not always.
Yeah.
I always use the example, you don't always want to go the lowest price. If I go to a doctor and I need surgery, I don't want the lowest, cheapest doctor.
Yeah.
You know, if I need surgery, I'm gonna pay for the quality of care that I'm gonna get. I'm gonna pay for quality.
Makes sense.
So, and there's a difference between maybe, let me see, oh, they all have nice pens, excuse me. But I may want a nice pen. I may not want the little cheap big pen. So I'm willing to spend $1 for a pen as opposed to 10 cents for a pen because I want a nice pen. Or a t-shirt. You know, you don't want the t-shirt's gonna have a hole in it. Maybe you want dry fit. They're both shirts. But you may be willing to pay a little bit more for the quality of something. Even though they're both pens,
yeah,
they're both t-shirts. And likewise, how much more are you willing to spend for something?
Yeah.
Maybe I can't spend $100 for a pen. That's maybe a little bit too much. So it has to be reasonable. If I'm going to spend more for it, it still has to be reasonable. So if the minority's price, say I want this pen and I can get it for $1, but the minority's price is $1.02. I can spend 2 more cents. It's not going to break the bank for me to spend 2 cents more to buy from my minority-owned business. Just because they're 2 cents more, big deal. Or a nickel more, spend $1.05 for it. I can get it for $1, but I can get it for $1.05. Not a big deal. But if it's $2,
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Because ultimately, if they're not just trying to find the cheapest price, the departments are trying to also achieve their diversity goal or the university's diversity goal, right? So we didn't really touch on that at all, but it's not just about saving money, it's about reaching our 20% diversity goal that was issued by the state of Illinois.
Yeah. So we didn't talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let you talk about it, Shauna, but the state of Illinois, the BP Act does have a policy, and they set a goal for us, for the state. Can you talk about that, Shauna?
All I know, you guys, is that the state of Illinois has set a diverse goal for the state at 20%. So we are to meet that goal, and that's why we need the department to spend money and have award contracts to diverse businesses. That's a 20% goal, and then we have a 3% ensure that we meet the 3% goal as well with these contracts.
It's a goal, right? What, is there any penalty if we don't meet the goal?
That, I'm not sure.
No. There's no,
Always a penalty, but.
right, there's no penalty if we don't meet it. It could be PR nightmare, right? Because if the minority business community, or say the Asian, we deal with a lot of people in the public, and when you deal with public money, people want to know where you're spending that money. You see it all the time on TV, right? We watch Donald Trump and we watch Congress. You turn on the news and they're always talking about City Hall, and all these different groups come down because everybody wants a piece of the money. They figure if I'm paying tax dollars, where are my tax dollars being spent, and how come I'm not benefiting from it? So occasionally we'll get the Black Chamber of Commerce, or there's the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and there's all these different, there's a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and they'll say, how you got, this is 20% goal, are you meeting the 20% goal, where are you? And you know, we have to put our heads down and say, we're not meeting it. Don't beat me up. So no, there's no financial penalty, nobody's going to jail, but it doesn't look good when you're not meeting it, and it really doesn't look good when you're not trying, more importantly. So they want to see the effort being made, that we're trying to do it. So, which is why the University of Illinois has a dedicated department to do this, to focus on that, because we're the only university in the state that has a department that's dedicated to doing it. So if you went to, let's say, I-State, Illinois State University, and you were mad, I want to know, what are you guys doing at I-State to spend money with diverse businesses? And they're like, well, we're trying. Well, what are you guys doing? Do you have a department? No. Do you have a person? A director? No. This is young lady down the hallway, we told her to do it. But she's doing some other job too. What power does she have? Well, she, you know, I don't know. She orders office equipment and she does. Yeah, and then it kind of looks bad, doesn't it? Like you really don't care. You don't care if you have the young lady down the office who has 5 other jobs to do, and then you just added diversity on the end of it too. A resume, list of other things that she has to do, and she's not supported, and she doesn't have a budget, and you know, she can't do any outreach, she can't do any initiatives. It doesn't look real good to the business community that you're really trying to, that you care about them when that's all you're doing. As opposed to, hey, University of Illinois has staff of 5 people, they have offices, they put on outreach events, we have a website, we have a relationship with the business community, we have a relationship with assist agencies to help businesses. So that looks a little bit better, that we're trying. So no, and 20% goal, again, that's it's an aspirational goal, so everybody's trying to reach that goal. So they say annually, of all the money that we spend throughout the state, all the billions of dollars that we spend, we would like 20% of those billions of dollars to be spent with minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, person with disabilities. You know, it's a goal.
That's a goal for each department, or just the university as a whole.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, right? So, think of it this way. The state spending is made up of, I'm about to do a little diagram here. Everything leads up to the top. So, our total, let's say, our total state dollars is made up of agencies and universities. And each one of those spend money. Well, in order to get 20% here, you got to get 20% here. And the university's got to get 20%.
Yeah.
And then all the universities, we have departments, right? So presumptively, if the department got 20%, then university would get 20%.
Yeah.
And if the university is getting 20%, then the state would get 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So you really can't leave anybody out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in a perfect world that everybody gets 20%. But what if one department could get 80%? If one department can get 80%, then does this department have to get 20? Maybe they can do less. Maybe this department can do 5%. And this department over here could do 5%. So maybe we don't put a 20% goal on every department. So the cheap and dirty way is to give everybody 20%. But based on what basis? On what basis will we give 20%? We're not really looking at the circumstance. What if that department only buys medical equipment, specially made Swiss microscopes?
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect that department to reach 20%. They may not get 5%.
True.
Because you can only buy these microscopes in Switzerland
Yeah.
from this one, that's one company, and that's the majority of their spend.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps maybe that department has a 2% spend, or maybe construction, where you have a lot of contractors in construction. Let's say we have a lot of architects, we have a lot of engineers. Maybe we do 50% there, and then when they build the building, we have a lot of contractors who can paint walls. We have a lot of minorities who can put the floor in. So we maybe get a lot of higher percentage on capital, and maybe a low percent on medical lab. But if you accumulate them all together,
Mm-hmm.
then we reach our 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can help us. Which departments maybe should have a 20% goal, and which ones should have a less, which ones should have more?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that? Based upon what, Shauna? The spend. You look at their spend and find out what they need.
But we need the data.
We need the data.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. How can you put a goal on something if you don't know what the spending is? But presumably that's right. If all else held equal, if all the little pieces were 20%, and all the 20% made the university 20%, and then all universities did 20%,
Mm-hmm.
then the state would do 20%.
Yeah.